Hello guys, welcome to Solving Solutions on our channel where I get solutions to all the solving problems. It's nice having you in class again today. How have you been? On today's tutorial, we are going to show you how to display multiple graticles on your map. So if you have a map and then perhaps you come to the print layout and then you have your graticles displayed here in a projected coordinate reference system, and then you also want to include a geographic system so that instead of having just the eastings and the northings, you also have latitude and longitude. So that's what we are going to show to you today. So sometimes it's helpful when you are working with a multiple coordinate system, or maybe you need a different grid spacing, or maybe you're even trying to compare them. Right, good. So it's also useful when you are having visualization of global extent, right? Good. So, but we are going to use this small region to demonstrate how to insert the multiple grids. So the first of which we are going to do is that, when you have your print layout and then you have added your map using this button, you can now come up to grids. Then from grids, you are going to add grid, right? Good. Now, if we click on the existing grid and then we try to modify, we are going to see that the existing grid is actually using UTM zone 32, which is what we projected. So we can rightly come back here and then we edit this to what? To projected. Now, the reason why we are editing it to projected is for us to know the difference between the two grids, because by default, if you click on add grid, what you are going to see is grid 1 because you've not added anyone before. But since we have added one, we are seeing grid 2. So if you are starting from the scratch, you will see grid 1. And then when you now click on add grid again, add a new grid, it will now change it to grid 2. So you might not be able to know which of the grids represent which of the projection system. So it's always good that when you create a new grid, you just try to edit it and then you give it what? A name. So this other one we want to create is what? Geographic, right? Good. So let's call this geographic. So the geographic, we have not modified it, but the projected is already modified. So if you come to the geographic and then you modify the grid, the first thing is that the grid type is solid so that we can see our lines being displayed. And then for the CRS, you use the drop down and then you ensure to select what? The CRS of your choice, which can be the project CRS or any other CRS that is there by default. So since the first grid has used UTM zone 32, which is the projected, we want to use the second grid that will now use WGS 1984, which is what? Geographic. So we select that. Then the next thing is for the intervals. Now, depending on the extent that you have covered, the intervals will either be from 1 point something or 100 point something or even 0.0 something. So because of our extent, we can have our interval to be 0.00 maybe 25. You can now see the black lines are out. Let's use this other base map. Sorry. Let's use this other base map. Good. So you can now see the black lines are out. We can similarly do that for the y, which is 0.0025. We now see what the interval for that, right? Good. Now another thing to note is that we are going to include labels. So you should ensure that your projected and your geographic are not overlapping. So by doing that, let's come up to draw coordinates. When you draw the coordinates, you can see now that at this point, the coordinates are overlapping. So what we are still going to do is that we are still going to modify what? The interval. So good. So we now have 0.0026 on both eastern and the northern, right? Good. Which will be the longitude and the latitude. Now, having displayed it like this, we can still come up to the draw coordinates and then try to modify what? How the coordinates are being displayed on the left, the right, and then the top and the bottom, right? Good. So what we can do is that for the left, we make it vertically ascending. For the right, we also make it vertically ascending, right? Good. Then for the format, instead of having it as decimal, we can decide to have it as degree, minute, and seconds with the suffix. And then we can change the coordinate precision to 0, right? Good. So having done that, we can now decide to change these lines to maybe cross. So what we are going to do is that instead of having it as solid, we can now have it as cross. And then when we have it as cross, you can now see that the lines are still black. You can decide to change the color from black to something else, so that it will be a distinction, or there will be a distinction between this projected and the geographic, right? Good. Or you can still leave it as maybe red or any other color of your choice. Then you can also reduce or increase the cross width. The idea is just to have a distinction between the two coordinate systems, so that when you're trying to reproduce the map, or maybe anybody that is trying to interpret the map can see a distinction between the two coordinate systems, right? Good. So we have this as 2.0. We can reduce it to 1, or maybe even increase it to 5, depending on what we want, right? Good. So, but the most important thing is that we have been able to display on this particular map the graticles in two coordinate system, so that if maybe you want to work with the projected, which might be peculiar to your region, or you want to work with the geographic, which is what, or which covers what, the whole world, right? Good. So thanks for coming to class. We hope we have shown you how to insert multiple grids, or maybe multiple graticles on your on your map layout. So we are going to see you on the next tutorial. Ensure you keep staying safe and have a very good time. Bye.